Welcome to the Don't Feed the Fear podcast, where we dive into the complex world of food allergy anxiety. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Whitehouse, food allergy anxiety psychologist and food allergy mom. Whether you're dealing with allergies yourself or supporting someone who is, join us for an empathetic and informative journey toward food allergy calm and confidence.
For our next fall episode on Advocacy, we have my friend and fellow Buffalonian Amy Burkett here to tell us how she went from scared mom to taking action on protecting her son. Amy is a mom to 3 boys, one with multiple severe food allergies and twins with a dairy sensitivity. She is on the board for the Greater Buffalo Food Allergy Alliance, a local support group which she helped to become an official nonprofit organization. She started the Allergy Awareness Action 5K last year to raise money and awareness. Amy has also advocated in her son's school district for allergy inclusion and protections, and across Western New York to educate the community about the importance of epinephrine and to get stocked epinephrine in police cars. Amy is the epitome of standing up and taking action even when you don't know where to start, and I hope she'll inspire many others to band together and do the same.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk, Amy. I love chatting with you, and I'm sure that everybody that listens to the podcast will enjoy hearing all of your thoughts and ideas on what you've been up to in the allergy world.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Why don't you start just by telling us a little bit about your family and what's going on with allergies in your house?
Sure. My oldest is 10. He was diagnosed around the age of 2 with peanut, tree nut, and egg. So it's been many years navigating this. I also have 9-year-old twins that do not have a diagnosed food allergy, but they do have sensitivity to dairy. So try to really limit that, because if they consume too much dairy, they'll have an eczema flare and some other digestive issues. So that's for my kids, yeah.
I would love for you to tell the story when you had this moment that just hit you of like, I have to do something. So this fall, we're talking about advocacy. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I love how you just got kind of spurred into action and doing something about this.
Yeah. So what happened when my son was in 2nd grade, and actually my advocacy journey didn't begin until it had to be a year after the incident that he experienced. He was eating lunch in the cafeteria, and 2 of his classmates attempted to wave peanut butter and smear peanut butter on his lunchbox and his containers. And it was very frightening, pretty traumatic experience at his young age. It took many months for us to work through that with him. He had a couple of nightmares as a result, and at a young age started teaching him how to use the EpiPen and the consequences of what really could have happened. But it wasn't until an entire year later when I met another mother whose child had milk thrown all over him, and he was severely allergic to milk. And it was in that moment that I said, what is going on in these school districts? Because I really truly felt the reason that these kids engage in this type of behavior is because there's no education in the classroom. All these children are put into an allergy classroom, but they're never taught anything about what an allergy is or what can happen to their classmate. So I think it was the lack of education, the lack of awareness going on in the schools that prompted this. What can we do? Like, we have to get in there. We have to start raising awareness. It's not fair to any of the kids that don't have allergies. I think they're just left to their own curiosity. They are told they can't eat certain things. They're not told why. Again, no lesson involved. They have no idea what an EpiPen is. And that's where it started. I stood there looking at this mom, just thinking, okay, what can we do? We really need to do more. And since then, we have made some real progress.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's that moment. Like, I think we all, when we have our traumatic moment, right? I think we're all in such a scared spot that we're just hoping and trusting that those around us are going to take care of us, right? So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of sounds like you thought the school district would, handle things, and then over time you just realized that wasn't an isolated incident. They're not going to do anything. We have to step in and make it happen.
Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. You put your trust into the school districts and they try to reassure you, but ultimately what we came to find out is there really wasn't any true allergy lessons or any type of awareness going on whatsoever. So since that incident, allergy awareness lessons have become a part of the health and wellness curriculum. in my son's district. And so that's really nice to see. They do now recognize Allergy Awareness Week in May in the schools. That had never been done before. So like I said, there's progress there.
So how did you start to make that happen? Where did you start and how did that unfold? I'm sure it wasn't just that you called and asked and they did it.
Right. So I first identified, I was very terrified when the incident happened to my son that they were going to discipline the other kids. And I really was very fearful of discipline because I feared retaliation. And I really, after I heard and learned what was happening in the classrooms, I realized the only reason the kids engaged in that behavior was because they just lacked the awareness. So I pushed for lessons. I pushed for the health and wellness teacher to get in there, do some allergy lessons. There's plenty of books out there available. So, I mean, the material's there. It just wasn't being done. And I met a couple other parents in the district and we formed a little team and we got in there now. We've had some meetings with the districts and we've had some really good change since.
So for those who are wanting to take action like that and don't know where to start, who in their district is a good person, like a starting point, a contact point? You mentioned the health and wellness educator.
I tried to go that route. I really wasn't successful at first. So I went up, we as a small group went up to the superintendent, was able to get a meeting with him, and we ended up having subsequent meetings with the assistant superintendent. And that's where we really started to see progress being made.
I love that you emphasize not disciplining and having this harsh reaction, but kind of trying to initiate, even though it took you a few tries, some positive conversations like education and encouragement and collaboration, not kind of going in with your anger and rage.
Yeah, I think at such a young age, kids are kids. And if they're left to their own devices and they're curious, these are the behaviors that you'll see. If you can be proactive and teach and answer their questions, then I feel we can prevent some of this from happening. I see that it still goes on. You see the articles, you see it on the news that this type of thing is going on. So what I did following that episode was I invited all of the kids in my oldest son's class and the kids in my twins' class and their parents to come to a non-school event. And I called it an allergy awareness party. And a couple of the other moms and I created a PowerPoint and we did a whole presentation, and then we got permission from the parents to do EpiPen training, and these kids lined up so quickly. So it started there. It was very small. I think I had about 30 or 40 people show up, which I felt was very successful. Everyone was super engaged. The kids loved it. They loved the PowerPoint. They were clapping and singing at the end. And after that, I think my son, I maybe had one or two kids with allergies also come. And I think after that, they just felt so much more supported in school, and they felt safer knowing their friends were aware, their friends were trained on the EpiPen. And I really saw a change in my son after that. He just seemed a lot more comfortable and confident being at school.
That's awesome. I love that you just took it into your own hands, because you're not talking about a school event. You just, on your own, invited everyone privately and threw this party. And I think you've talked about, didn't you? Wasn't it a big pizza party?
Yeah.
Like you weren't getting school funding. You just did it.
I did it. I used my own money because I really felt it was such a need. And I was terrified of what could have happened that day. I mean, in the moment, my son didn't have his EpiPen with him. It was locked up in the nurse's office, which, I mean, we all know that's a big problem. The nurse would have never made it to him in time had he suffered a reaction. So, I mean, there are so many layers to the situation. He now self-carries. He's self-trained. We've come a long way since that day.
Can you talk about that part in addition to the school-wide advocacy that you've done? You've made a lot of changes in how the school is handling his individual allergy needs. Could you tell people about that part? Because a lot of people get lost in this question of, do I need a 504? Is it a health plan? How do they navigate that in your experience?
At the time of that incident, he had an individualized healthcare plan. When he was in kindergarten, we were talked out of a 504, and so I sort of put my trust in the process. After the serious incident in the cafeteria, we had a 504 plan. So with the 504 plan, he has some accommodations now, some modifications. He carries his own EpiPen. The classrooms are nut-free. Any specials that he goes to, art, computer class, those are also nut-free environments. I did have a friend of mine whose daughter was in computer class, and ended up going in anaphylactic shock from touching a contaminated keyboard. So you learn that these things can very easily happen throughout the course of the school day. So it's learning the 504, learning what your individual child needs. In the beginning, he only carried it to the cafeteria, but then there was an incident in a classroom with a teacher eating nuts. His friends that were then at that point aware and trained really advocated for him. So my son didn't even have to speak up for himself. He had about 6 or 7 friends come to his rescue in that moment. It was just so wonderful to hear.
Tell us, I love that story. Will you share if you're comfortable and if you
Sure.
don't think your son would mind?
Sure. It was my phone. I started getting multiple texts from all these parents telling me the same thing, and that their kiddos came home and explained that the art teacher was eating nuts when they walked into the classroom. There were some nuts on the floor, and my son's classmates said, you can't eat those in here. You have to use a Lysol wipe. You have to wipe your hands. You have to wash your hands. And my son came home and he's like, Mommy, I didn't even have to say anything. All of my friends helped me, and my phone, all these moms, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please give your kiddo a hug for me. Thank you so much. Like, it was just, I don't even know if I have a word for the feeling for what happened in that moment, and all these kids just really coming to help him. It just brought tears to my eyes. It was a very emotional moment.
I think it's such a good example of what you were saying earlier. They're going to reflect what they're taught, right? We think of it as if it was a lack of conversation, but if we don't speak to them specifically and educate them, they do hear about allergies, and it's almost all like jokes in movies. It's stereotypes. It's stuff like that that's really negative about it. And just, again, I'm not saying that the school district was doing that or promoting that, but that's just in the world all around us. So I think we think kids haven't been talked to about allergies, but they have been soaking in those messages from all around them their whole lives until you flip it. And like you did so clearly with his buddies in
Yeah.
school, they soak it right in when we teach them how to help each other.
Yeah, little sponges. I think that's the hurdle that we're still working on getting over now as a group. Shifting that mindset. I think as we toured the middle school and we toured the high school, and we started to learn that these older kids, they don't want to talk about it. They haven't told their friends about it. Their EpiPen is buried at the bottom of their backpack. No one knows it's there. They don't want to, they don't want to stand out, I guess is the word you can say, when, because it's that mindset that's has been treading water for 20 something years. Instead of teaching these kids years and years ago to advocate for themselves, it's okay to speak up. It's okay to teach your friends about the EpiPen. It's just been brushed under the mat, and now we want to bring it out. We want to bring it to light. It's okay. It's okay to have an allergy. You're a person first, and then you have a life-threatening allergy. You're a student with a life-threatening allergy. You're, a high school kid with a life-threatening allergy, not an allergic kid. Like, we don't use those types of labels anymore. We haven't used them in years. So it's shifting that mindset of it's okay to talk about. It's okay to teach your friends. I have an older nephew who went away to college, and luckily his roommates and housemates were trained, and they had to use an EpiPen on him. And thank God for that awareness. But that's not what we're finding out as we get out there and we advocate. I know some high school, middle school kids, they're not carrying their EpiPens. I've met so many adults that are not carrying their EpiPens. So it's just like shifting that mindset.
Yeah, I think because generationally it's getting a little more common now with the younger kids and they're moving up, but people who miss that, I think, are the adults now who are more likely to be hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important to remember that everyone has something that's different from everyone else, or that's a challenge or something unique about them that they have to manage in some way. And most people, you can't see it. So with kids with food allergies, you can't see it other than what they have to carry, their epinephrine and some, a medic alert. But that's kind of the language that I use, is sit in the room and look around. One of those kids has asthma and they have an inhaler in their backpack. One of those kids had trouble reading and they have to take special reading lessons, and you don't necessarily see it because they don't do it in the classroom. And to give them examples, so many examples of what everyone deals with. And wouldn't it be great if we all knew openly and kindly these things about each other so we could help each other?
Yeah,
I don't know.
for
What do you
sure.
think? How do you phrase it?
I think with the 1 in 13 1 in 13 kids and 1 in 10 adults, and it's so on the rise still. And even with adults, like not knowing and getting stung by a bee, or eating a piece of seafood and all of a sudden having a reaction and not even knowing, it's so on the rise. So I think it's going to take still a long way to go to reach those middle schoolers and those high schoolers and those adults. We have some work to do there, but I'm seeing a change. Like, I'm starting to see a change. We're getting out there. We did a presentation at a local high school the other day. We had a lot of high school kids participate because we weren't sure if the high school kids were going to want to raise their hand or come up and be trained on the EpiPens or get the awareness information. But it was very successful, so I was really happy to see that.
What were you finding with those high schoolers as far as how much they already knew? Did they have any familiarity?
Some they did, yes, they did. Some of them hadn't used a trainer in a really long time. They had a younger sibling that has severe food allergies, but they just haven't had a refresh in so long, or they lost the trainer at home, little things like that. But they did have some awareness. Some of them had allergies to melons and fruit, so they were like, well, I don't really carry it in the winter. So for me, it's like, oh, you really
Right.
need to carry it all year round. Meeting a lot of adults that leave it in the hot car and the cold car and they have an expired one from 2011. So just meeting a lot of people, getting the word out, you really come to understand that we need to do more.
Yeah, I think this is what you're trying to do, but obviously from outside of the schools, we have safety drills. Every year they have fire drills. They have fire safety come in and talk to kids about make sure you have an escape. And they do the intruder drills, right? People don't want to talk about scary things, but those have become routine to refresh people's memories and educate not just the adults, but the kids. I think staff get a little epi refresher training in most organizations, but I'm talking about it being a routine part of kids' education, safety and health education that they get every year. And I don't know that it's happening, but I think you're trying to get there, right?
Yeah, we've really made a lot of progress coming from Allergy Awareness Week in May. And this year we saw a lot of allergy awareness going on where all the years prior nothing ever existed. So that's a really good thing to see. I don't see it in a lot of school districts. We're hoping that we get out there and we can do more to see it in the school districts, but it's there and it's available. FAIR, Food Allergy Research and Education, and FACT. Those are two great resources that have the materials ready for school districts to just print out and use. And they're wonderful resources. So, like, the information's there, it's available. It's just alerting the school districts to it. I think most districts will train their staff in how to use an EpiPen, but I think there's no bigger awareness piece. Like, oh, great, I know how to use an EpiPen, but can I identify the signs and symptoms of anaphylactic shock? Do I even know the top 9 allergens? I think that piece was missing in the EpiPen training. Personally, I do.
I agree. And I think it's something that the kids need to know too. An adult can't be expected to necessarily notice immediately when they've got a classroom full of kids, and the kids might be the ones in a conversation with them or looking at their faces and noticing when symptoms start to happen if the child isn't identifying it themselves. So I just would love so much more of this as a routine part of our education and society as a whole.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think teaching the young kids and even the older kids who just haven't had it, teaching them how to advocate for themselves is huge. And then when we teach our own children, reminding them that they're not the only child in the world with a food allergy. Like, sometimes my son will be like, Mommy, no. And I'm like, okay, just remember, this isn't just for you. It's for all the other kids that are going through this. It's for the other kiddo that had milk thrown all over him. It's for the other kiddo that was teased and bullied. And it's getting that out. And it really opened up my son to realize, oh, I'm not the only one. Oh, we are doing this for everyone else. And he took the bull by the horns this year, and he trained his whole baseball team because his epi now is on the bench in the dugout. And we can't just drop a medical device down and not teach the kids what it is and why it's there. And these kids, they're just fabulous. Once you get in there and start teaching them, they want to know, they want to learn, they want to help.
They do. The way you're describing with your son, I have found the same to be true with mine. They're like us. Sometimes it's hard to advocate for yourself and expect, like, I want people to help me. I need you to do this for me. But when they see someone else suffering, then they're a little bit more motivated, just like we are sometimes, like, oh, now I'm fired up and
Yeah.
I'm ready to help. I've seen the same with my son when he, didn't want me to do anything to step up when he had issues, but when I've shared struggles that other kids have had, then he's a little more motivated. I want to get involved. Maybe I could do this, or what could I say? And I think that just it's so much kindness inside of them. And like you said, all the kids around them wanting to help each other.
Yeah, and I think the high school kids, there's so much potential there for them to help the younger kids because they've been through it. They're 10 years ahead or 12 years ahead of the younger kids. They just haven't talked about it as much, but they're there. And my oldest was able to FaceTime a fair friend in the beginning of school. There were some anxiety issues going on, and he was there. And it was just wonderful that my son could FaceTime him and he could talk with him. And he just helped him. He helped him so much. Just being had gone through it, and he shared some of his own stories with him. And it was just such a tremendous help to my son at the time.
It's so normalizing to just talk to someone else who has, it's just like you and I, like when all of us allergy moms get together, there's a plan, there's a function or something that we're doing, but really we just want to talk about it to each other and be understood.
Yeah, it can be really emotional, really emotional.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how you got involved with FAIR? Because I know you've done some of their events and advocacy events too, right?
Yeah, well, we went down and participated in FAIR's Courage at Congress. So we were down in DC with FAIR last year, and we met some fellow FAIR advocates that now consider lifelong friends. And we learned the process of how things get passed into law. It's a lot of work. My son went into the House building and the Senate building and met with representatives and talked about his personal journey and the things that he had gone through and the reason what. And it's tied into the reason why we need the EpiPen Price Cap Act, or why we need certain laws passed to protect this population and the 33 million people that have life-threatening allergies. And not just food, but when I advocate for food allergies and insect allergies, medication allergies and insect allergies. I encompass it all because you have a lot of people out there that don't just have food allergies.
Right. And it's all equally dangerous. It's bringing to mind the emergency in the South right now with the flooding, and they need epinephrine because of the insects being flooded out of there.
Yeah.
That obviously people with food allergies maybe lost their medications as well. But from what I'm hearing, it's a lot of the people with insect allergies that are really at risk because they don't have their medications right now.
The bees were horrible down there.
I would love it if you feel comfortable talking about the Epi Price Cap Act. And for people who don't necessarily know the situation with that, could you describe a little bit about it and why there's motivation and action to do something about it?
Everyone knows the cost of EpiPens. They're astronomical, several $100s, as much as like a mortgage payment, for a 2-pack. Most of us need 4 of them, a set at home, a set at school. And it was not everyone's insurance covers them. So here in New York, the EpiPen Price Cap Act passed, and they're capped now at $100. I believe that goes into effect January of 2026. I'm not sure. I can't be quoted on that, but it's huge progress. It's huge progress to see because an EpiPen really only cost $7 to make. And so the price increase is it's a difficult thing to swallow when you know what the real cost is in it. Personally, as an advocate, like with this EpiPen price cap coming or with Neffy coming down the line, like we really want to see EpiPens or Neffy in police cars and in fire trucks. They're usually the first people there. They beat the ambulance there how many times, and seconds matter. That's a long journey. We're starting to work on that. It's a really hard thing to get through. Some counties here in New York are doing it, but many are not.
Yeah. And I want to throw in too, AviQ or the other option, because that's in our house, that happens to be our favorite. But again, same challenges. My son wanted to try the Neffy. So as soon as it was available, we called and got the prescription. And I think the insurance price for my household was just under $700. Wow. And we have pretty good insurance. So I think they have like many companies do, they have a promotion right now so that if your insurance amount is that much, then you can pay less. And I think that amount was maybe $200 for us. But it was the same with AviQ when they first came out. They had a promotion to make it affordable, and now it's gone. Yeah. And now none of them are affordable.
Yeah, I know. It's I can't even imagine some of the families that like struggle to get it. And when I was out advocating and I would meet adults, some of them would pull out one, and my question would be, well, where's the other one? And they're like, well, I keep that one at home. And I'm like, well, you really need to have both of them with you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I can't afford that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, it's hard to hear. It's hard to
It
hear.
is. It is just not, for a medication that's so inexpensive. It is not a situation that anyone in this country should be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you'll go back? Will you do that event again someday in the future?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would hope to go back. And my son gained a lot from it, just meeting other kids with food allergies and being in that environment and feeling totally safe and being able to talk to a couple other kids that just are experiencing the same things that he is, and being able to eat with them and eat freely with them was quite an experience.
I always found that I work telehealth now, but when I still had my office working with kids with food allergies, that was one of the most powerful things, was for me to work with their parents and obviously do it in a safe and trusted way. For them to be able to come into my office and eat with me
Mm.
was such a powerful experience with them, because they're so limited sometimes with it.
Yeah, when he can share his food allergy with other people that are going through it. In my family, we have a couple other people that have food allergies, and it's such a joy to see him being with them and eating the same food as them. It means so much, because oftentimes they're not able to eat what everyone else is eating, and it's hard. It's hard as a mom to watch your kiddo sit there and not be able to participate. That, especially here in Buffalo, food seems to be the center of everything, and
Yes.
they're really left out. I don't want to use the word excluded, because we have substitutes for everything under the sun, but in many ways they end up being excluded unless everyone's eating the same thing. They truly are excluded, and I think it wears on them, especially at a young age. It does wear on them. So when there's an opportunity for everyone to eat the same thing, it's just so nice to see his face, and he's just so excited about it.
I agree. Obviously, with Halloween coming up, that's one of the big times where kids don't get to do that, unfortunately. So I was wondering if we could talk about Halloween and how you navigate it, and maybe ideas for families in terms of how they can do it depending on their situations.
Yeah, so when he was very young, we took him trick or treating a couple times, but because he was so young, we were able to control the situation more, give the neighbors the enjoy life or the yummer, and then have it be done that way. And as he grew up, I had trunk or treats. I organized trunk or treats just with my family, but my family's huge, so we'd get 40 people there, and it was quite an experience. Everyone knew what to buy. It was so wonderful. And then 2 years ago, I thought we would try Switch Witch, where he was old enough to know, and his brothers were old enough to know, don't put your hand in the bag if that Reese cup package breaks open, which we know they do. They are so easily unwrapped in the bag. So I felt they were old enough, and they had so much awareness that they could do this. So they ran free, they trick or treated, and I had 3 safe bags ready for them to do the Switch Witch. So they collected all the regular candy, didn't put their hand in there, and then turned in those bags. And then I gave them the safe bags full of candy, and it was such a joy to see them trick or treat with their friends. I mean, I was crying, and it's just like this. At first, my oldest, like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, and I'm like, this is an experience like I really want you to have. Like, it's just, you're a kid. I want you to have this. But I did say, if you're really not comfortable doing it, you can stay home, and we'll just like pass out the candy, and you can see it, from that side. But then he decided to do it, and God, he had so much fun. He just had so much fun, just running and trick or treating with all the other
Aw.
kids. Yeah, it was a big
I
deal.
love that. We do Switch Witch too, and it's to the point. My kids were the same way when they were first able to do just regular trick or treating, and now they're kind of, we live in Buffalo, as you mentioned. The weather's always cold and
Yeah.
like freezing and raining here, and my kids are kind of at the point now, which my oldest is 13,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's hitting that point. It's like, I think I'll just stay home and accept the candy from the Switch Witch. But my youngest is only 9, and he has lots of enthusiasm. He loves to collect as much candy as he can, and then we donate it to, there are all kinds of organizations that will send it to the troops. And so that like kind of motivates them too, to make the trick or treating not feel like a waste. They're doing it with their friends. They feel so good about giving the unsafe stuff to,
Yeah.
someone who can use it. And then
Yeah.
switch, which is just so easy. And
Yeah.
I'm no fun. I like to, give them non-candy stuff and save their teeth and their
Oh yeah.
stomachs a little bit from the sugar. But
Yeah.
we still have candy in our freezer from last Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
But we
That's
used to
great.
do, you were talking about their first trick-or-treating, and ours, we did what you did when they were younger with like neighbors and
Hmm.
trusted people. I don't have a giant family here like you did,
Yeah.
what you do, which is amazing. But we would do some small trunk or treats when they were younger. And then the first year we went trick-or-treating, we did the teal pumpkin
Oh
map.
yeah. Yeah.
And my son literally, he was so really little then, but he was literally running down the street with like his costume cape flying behind him and
Oh.
yelling out, "I'm trick or treating!" And,
Oh.
we might have only done 7 or 8 houses,
Hmm.
but it was kind of like a little adventure to take that map and find the houses. And they would be so excited when he would come up to the door and say, "I have food allergies," because a lot of people are excited to offer this, a lot of them food allergy families themselves. And then some people will tell me nobody even comes and asks,
Oh
which it's
yeah.
good to have it anyway, but they would just dump like whole buckets and bowlfuls of goodies into his bag because they were so excited to be participating
Oh
too. So that
yeah.
was
The
a
teal.
fun experience.
Yeah, the Teal Pumpkin Project is great. I'm seeing it more and more, which is just wonderful. Now they have the plastic teal pumpkins.
Yeah, I
It's
think
great.
most stores now have a row of, right, like boxes of teal
Hmm.
pumpkin goodies that people can get, and the pumpkins themselves. And I think at least the map in our area is so much more densely populated than it used to be.
Yeah. And
So
the nice thing is, even the allergy safe candy is sold so many places. I mean, they sell it at Target and they sell it at the local grocery stores. They sell it at some of the, at Rite Aid, even. I'll go in there and see the Yum Earth. And it's just so great to see it so easily available now.
right, it makes it so easy to do.
Mhm.
For people who don't know, do you want to describe what Teal Pumpkin Project is a little bit more? And I'll put a link in the notes, but so people can find it and understand what to do if they want to go that route.
Oh yeah, the Teal Pumpkin Project, they sell the plastic teal pumpkins at lots of different stores, or you can paint your pumpkin teal and you put it outside so that it alerts the allergy families and kids with allergies that you have safe items available for them to get, like trinkets, little spider rings or stickers or pencils. There's so much out there and so much available. If you don't want to try to find the allergy safe food, kids just love those trinkets. My kids are 9 and 10. They love the spider rings and the stickers. They put the stickers on their water bottles. It's super popular. The
Yeah.
pencils, they love the pencils, and all that stuff is a big hit with the kids.
I agree. And so, and then if you want to print out, I always go on, it's on Fair's website. You can get the printable signs, and I
Hmm.
put them in the window leading up to Halloween so that hopefully families will notice, that you can see in the window a sign that says, "We participate in Teal Pumpkin." And then you can register your house on the map online so that people can find you. And then, so if you want to trick or treat, you can print that map and go and find those
Oh
houses, which I
yeah,
think is just
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. They really did a nice job with that.
It's a good idea. Obviously, all holidays can be tricky for us. You mentioned to me earlier about getting ready already for preparing for Thanksgiving. I feel like Halloween, we're kind of getting there.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas are a little more in our individual families. I think most of us have got it down, but societally, I feel like we're nailing it with Halloween, at least for
Yeah,
food allergies.
Halloween has come a long way. I mean, this year for the first time, it's actually on their school flyer. The school does a trunk or treat, and they have the Teal Pumpkin Project right on the flyer. And it was just so awesome to see that. That's
I love
another
that.
piece, another thing that just makes you see the progression in the school districts, which really just, we're getting there.
What a
It's
big
wonderful.
change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about too. We're talking about all the advocacy that you do, and we started in the schools, but you have done so much more since then. So, what do you want to tell us about
Oh,
next?
sure. I am now one of the board members with Greater Buffalo Food Allergy Alliance. We're a local group in the Buffalo area. Pre-COVID, there were a lot of in-person meetings happening. Then, of course, COVID hit, so things kind of just died down. Now we're finally seeing a bounce back, getting out there. and getting more in-person events. We had our first big post-COVID function last May. We did an allergy awareness 5K event, and I like to use the word event because we wanted something, an activity for people to do while we were raising awareness. So people could walk, they could run, they could push their kids in the strollers. It was really a family event. Even if you weren't an avid runner, so many people walked it. Like I said, we had strollers there. We had EpiPen training there. We had a couple other vendors come to do some activities with the kids. We made sure that all the food donated was allergy safe. We had great involvement from companies. We had 88 Acres. We had Red Plate Food. We had the Snyder's gluten-free pretzels that are made in a peanut tree nut-free facility. They're also egg-free. We had plain chips. We really wanted to cover all our bases so that the allergy community could come and feel safe. And then the non-allergy community, of course, they can eat anything. So they were just happy with all the food this 5K had to offer. So it was such a nice blend of the two different communities and the raising awareness and seeing a lot of people that really had no awareness at all, getting EpiPen trained, asking questions. You were able to join us, which was so wonderful. I got so much amazing feedback from parents of kids who were really afraid to use the EpiPen. They just had like generalized anxiety over it, and I was getting feedback post event of how just having the kids get trained and how it really calmed them and they weren't scared anymore. And it's just really great that we can get out there and we can do these types of things and help. I had some newly diagnosed families that really needed some help. They needed some guidance. Of course, we all can remember being newly diagnosed and standing in the grocery store and just crying because you walk out of the doctor's office with what? I don't know what to buy. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to cook. And it's terrifying. And every mom goes through that. And you don't have that allergy community yet. You don't know any other moms. Maybe you do. I mean, back 10 years ago, I did. I really only knew one. And it's just getting this information out there. Greater Buffalo, we're trying to do more. We're going to more couple community events, hoping to continue to raise awareness.
One of my favorite parts of that event was what you mentioned, that because you didn't just do an allergy event, you made it a 5K. There were so more people there than I was expecting who were just runners who signed. It was a good weekend. I signed up for the 5K to run, who learned so much and were kind of integrated with all of us allergy folks wandering around. And I thought that was a cool blend of bringing people in with an event that's a popular thing people like to do.
Yeah, that was my goal because I think some allergy events are just limited to people with allergies. And I think my goal was to like raise awareness to people that aren't in the know. So we bounced a couple ideas back and forth, and it just was like, well, we have to do something. And I wanted to do a 5K. There are a lot of runners in the Buffalo area. It fell at the end of Allergy Awareness Week and right before the Buffalo Marathon. So it fit into the training schedule, and we had a really good turnout. So I'm hoping it grows. We were very lucky to have Sean McDermott, the Buffalo Bills head coach, join us at the starting line and help us raise awareness. And his presence there, it was just it was amazing to have him there. I don't know if he knows what an impact he had just being there and giving everybody high fives. And he gave a little speech about the importance of allergy awareness. Two of his kiddos have allergies, so he knows. And it really helped us succeed as a group, the Greater Buffalo group. And hopefully we see it grow this year.
Yeah, I agree. And the comments from my kids, their reaction to him being there and giving some comments and starting the race off was like, wow, like somebody that important, somebody that impactful in the world that I see on TV on the weekends is here and thinks that allergies matter. And that to the kids was really, really powerful to see him kind of standing on their side. And so I did express that to him. I hope he knows how much it really does impact the kids especially, and the grown-ups.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the grown-ups, they were really amazed that he was there, and they just loved it. And I know having a figure like him kind of be out there with us on the front line and telling adults to carry your EpiPens, like it really means a lot. And the goal to like raise awareness, it just really help when you have like a person like him get
Yeah.
out there and help us.
Yeah. So tell us about next year's race, which I know you're already planning, and then talk to other people in other cities and areas who want to do something like this as far as like, how do you start? It seems really overwhelming. You amazed me watching you pull this together. I don't know how you did it, but I think hearing from would help maybe some other people feel like, yeah, I could do something like this, pull some people together and pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So years ago, I unfortunately can't run anymore, but years ago I was a runner, an avid runner, so I knew the process, I knew what was needed. We got in touch with a local timing company. That was the first thing that we did, so that they had the finish line done, the course, picked out the course. Then on our side, for the advocacy piece, we needed a venue, so we were able to get a local store, Fatty's Beer Company, to host our venue. And then it was just a lot of work, emailing, calling companies, getting the donations, and of course the specific donations, because we wanted safe food. We have a friend that has a hot dog cart. He was very happy to join us, Clifford's Hot Dogs. And we had a very lovely donation of chicken wings, anonymous, by a local pizzeria. That was so nice. And so it's making these phone calls, it's sending these emails, it's getting everything together. And we had the basket raffle. It's asking again for donations. And all of the money that we raised went to FARE, Food Allergy Research and Education. And that was just that was our goal, to donate the money to FARE. This year, Greater Buffalo Food Allergy Alliance has become our own 501c. So we are hoping that we can do more, get out there. Like I said, it's a lot of work. I had a great committee. I had a wonderful committee that was there to help. It was a huge group effort, and we're lucky to have the people that we have.
You did an amazing job. And so you're already working on next year. Tell us the details of that, and I'll link in the notes so that local people listening can find it and get the date on their calendar.
Yep, we did launch the save the date already. It's Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at the end of Allergy Awareness Week. I think they did release that. So we're hoping that everyone wants to come again. And yeah.
No, and we'll be there.
Yeah, awesome.
You mentioned that Greater Buffalo Food Allergy Alliance. I always want to say association,
I know.
but it's alliance.
Yeah, people do
It's
that.
just GBFAA in my mind. You, I think I know there are a couple of you working on this, but you've been one of the driving forces of shifting it over to a 501c. So tell me about that process, and then what your vision is for taking our local kind of support group and doing more with that process.
So we're in the very beginning stages. This year we were able to, like I said, just recently, a couple weeks ago, we were able to visit a local high school and present there. We did a quick talk, and then the other board member, Renata, she did the EpiPen training. We are attending community resource night in our town here, so we were able to get in there. And then we are also attending the Western New York School Coalition coming up in November. From that, we hope to get into a couple more local high schools and just, give a quick speech to the kids. We were able to get into the lunch period, so we were right there in the cafeteria, and then the kids were free to come up on their own time, so we didn't take up any classroom time or anything like that, so it made it really easy. So that's one of our big goals, like getting out there, raising awareness, conducting EpiPen training, which is huge. And that's where we're going from there. And then we have our big event right now, and just see how we grow.
I think that's amazing. And I think it sounds like so much, but for people who want to take action, hearing you talk about these small steps, obviously it's a lot of time you're putting in, but it's kind of like just chugging along one thing at a time. We'll call this school. We'll try to get in here. I think you can build momentum once you're developing the relationships and kind of a routine. I hope that other people will be inspired to do what you're doing in other places, because I know there's so many, mostly moms listening from what I'm hearing, who want to do something and just feel so overwhelmed with their own lives. They don't know where to start. And you're so amazing the way you just dove into this. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're there for. We're here to help. We get a lot of 504 questions, and here we are in 2024, and I think in some ways it can be hard and often disappointing when I hear things and I get messages from people. It's disappointing, but it's knowing that there's hope and progress is happening and change is coming. And it's easy to get down, but just staying up and positive and continue on with our awareness movement and our mission, and hoping that we reach these districts and the top administrators, and then it trickles down to the teachers. I mean, believe it or not, we still have a lot of teachers that just really don't have any awareness.
Right.
They may be EpiPen trained, but they really don't have the awareness piece.
Yeah. Well, not anymore, because part of the work that the parent group that you were a part of in the district where we live and your kids go to school, worked with someone in the district, and we're going to have her on the show soon. And almost all the teachers in the district got to hear us talk about food allergies, and not just here's your EpiPen and here's what to look for, but to understand kind
Yeah.
of the impact. So I'm excited to have her on the show too, to talk about her perspective. But that, to me, that's huge.
That's huge. We're lucky here.
Right.
We're very lucky here. And I'm hoping that other people can, I don't know, maybe pick up this. I think it's easier when you have a couple people with you. Taking it on alone is very, very difficult. And it's when you find those other parents and you establish that little group. Once you start and just don't stop, you can really make progress. And then our assistant superintendent, she's wonderful. And you get together and you get your team and you just keep going.
I want to just suggest, if people don't know where to start, to just look for a local allergy support in your city or your state. And if there's not one, you can always just start a group on social media to connect with local people, because there's tons of groups. I know we're all in a bunch of them, but it's the local ones. Like ours in Buffalo, and we used to travel to Pittsburgh a lot for medical treatment. And I'm in the Pittsburgh group of parents, to find restaurants, to find other parents, which doctor is doing what in which office. Like, it's those local conversations about, this ice cream place is doing an amazing job. Don't go here. They treated me like this. I think that's when you start to settle in, and where you can make the connections like you're talking about. Like, all right, let's team up and let's take this on and try to get the district to listen to us, the school district, or there might be other organizations in addition to schools and communities where there is education that's needed. And like you said, that's how you can find your team of people who are motivated.
Yeah, I think just getting on social media and looking for those local groups and going from there, and just finding a couple other parents that want to do something like this. I've seen other walks. I think we may have been one of the first or only 5K, but they're out there. They're definitely happening. And even if it just takes 2 or 3 people to do it, and you can do it.
Definitely. Yeah. What else do you want to tell people about? What didn't we get to?
I think that's everything. Just stay focused on the mission, raise awareness, and get people carrying their EpiPens, and the younger kids to talk about it and advocate for themselves, get their friends on board. It's really a big change for your kiddo to have that support. It really is. And if you don't have it, hopefully you can get it.
That's what you've done. You created it.
Yeah.
You just made what wasn't there for your kiddo, and I love that.
Yep.
My last question I like to ask everyone is, tell us something great about having food allergies in your family.
I think it can bring a lot of people together, and it can teach empathy to the siblings that don't have to navigate the environment on a completely different level. His younger twin brothers, I see the empathy in them. I see the understanding. And I think that then can be extended to other disabilities. And teaching kids to have that empathy, it's important nowadays. I think sometimes it's lost in society. And this is a way to help it come back. And it's not just food allergies. There are many disabilities out there. And I think this is one that the siblings and other family members can learn how to be empathetic and supportive for so many other disabilities.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to the race next year.
Absolutely. We're super excited.
Before we finish for today, here are your 3 action steps that you can take to get involved in allergy advocacy. Number 1, if you are anywhere near Buffalo, Western New York, Northwestern PA, even Eastern Ohio, mark your calendar for May 18th, 2025, and join us in Orchard Park for the Allergy Awareness Action 5K. Number 2, find and join a local allergy support group for your city or state. The area-specific recommendations and support that you can find here, as well as the possibility of meeting your allergy friends in person, is so reassuring and comforting. If you're lucky, there will be an allergy awareness event close enough for you to attend. And if not, maybe you'll make some friends who want to start one. Number 3, participate in the Teal Pumpkin Project. It isn't too late to print signs from the fair website, register your house on the website map, and buy some non-food treats. Encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to join too. And if you have little ones at home, check the map in your area to see how many other people care about kids with food allergies too.
The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any questions about your own medical experience or mental health needs, please consult a professional. I'm Dr. Amanda Whitehouse. Thanks for joining me. And until we chat again, remember, don't feed the fear.